Hello and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight, we are once again joined by romance author Mel Walker. Welcome back to the room, Mel. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to be back.
Oh, awesome. We love having you back. We do. Um, so I want to start right off because when I pulled up your information, I noticed that you had sneak peeks. So
Oh yeah.
I'm as curious as heck. This is for Dr. No. And you did the sneak peeks a little bit prior, and I believe today is the release date for Dr. No, yes?
Yes, yes, just released today. It's been a fun-filled day.
Awesome. So tell me how the sneak peeks worked.
Sure. So what it does is it gives you a look behind the scenes, gives you access to one of the early chapters. So in this case, I just put up chapter one. Typically, I'll put two chapters up, but this one there's a big twist that happens in chapter two, so I didn't want to give it away. So it's just
Right.
chapter one. It really gives you the setting, introduces you to the main character. You start to get a feel for the novel.
Nice. Well, tell me about the format you use for the sneak peek. Is this off your site? Is this software? Tell me about that.
Sure. So I posted up on a site called Bing Books. And so it's a platform that really supports independent authors. It has a lot of the traditional authors on there as well, but it's a big supporter of indie authors. And it allows us to not just, post up there in terms of our upcoming releases, but also provides the technology so that we can upload and share sneak peeks, early
No.
chapters in there.
Wonderful. Now, how did you get introduced to Bing, or is it Binge? Is it Bing Books? Binge? Am I saying it wrong?
Binge Books, yeah, Binge
Okay,
Books.
Binge.
So it is run by a romance author, Alexandra Torre. So she's a huge ambassador in the romance field. Also a very prolific and excellent writer in her own regard. Huge fan. And so she built the platform. She organized, built this company, and they put this platform out there just because she saw a need in the marketplace for the indie authors. There's other large platforms. The big Zon is always out there, but
Hmm.
in terms of the power in listening to the needs of indie authors, some of the larger platforms really deprioritize their concerns.
Nice. Very nice. So let's start right in. Tell me about Dr. No. Tell me about this book.
Oh, sure. So, Dr. No, it's a almost a fish out of water story. So, you're introduced in chapter one to a neurologist, Cynthia Haywood. She's at the top of her field. She's the assistant chair of neurology at a huge metropolitan hospital in Baltimore. And then there's a family tragedy which brings her to a small town in Rhode Island, and she needs to adjust. So at the start of the story, she's at the top of her field. She thinks she has everything she needs, but she soon discovers that's not the case. She's always been focused on her professional achievements and working alone. So some of the advice she was given growing up was if you want to get ahead, you need to cut and severe ties and just go as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and not get slowed down by others. And that's really how she had led her life up to that point in time. And then she's, transported to the upside down world of Eastport, Rhode Island, where she's now in a small town with a much slower pace, a whole big community of people and supporters, and a hospital that operates completely different than the one she left. And she
Right.
struggles and has to adjust and learn a few lessons along the way.
Nice. So let me put the elephant in the room, okay?
Sure, sure.
All right, all right. Male romance author. Tell us why. I'm just, I'm just,
um,
I'm just spitballing here. I mean, I'm sure there's because it is a rare bird, and you say as much in your in your bio that you're this rare bird. So tell me what threw you into this type of career.
It's very interesting. So I've learned to embrace the term rare bird. I did not realize I was a rare bird when I entered. So to your question was, it didn't feel, it didn't feel unique to myself. I've always been a fan of love stories and romance stories, and have been, writing in that area, in terms of that type of genre almost my entire life. It's just something that always spoke to me because it's real. It's what we all look for. It's all what we struggle for, and it's all something that we all have experience in. And so I've always written in that genre, and it wasn't until I really started publishing and getting out there that I realized how rare it was. And people always ask me the same question you asked me, why a male romance man, and my question is always, why aren't there more? it's just it
Good
just
quick.
yeah, I don't understand because it's such a wonderful genre. The readers are amazing. The stories, are endless. There's a million ways you can tell a love story, a romance story, just like there's a million songs about it. There's a million ways to paint a portrait about it. It's an endless reservoir. So that's always my take on it.
Right. So, knowing what you know now about being the rare bird, how does it make you view what you do? I mean, I know you said there should be more romance authors, but does it make you feel even more unique, or does it make you feel that there's more pressure on you to be this great writer?
Oh, that's a great question. I
I occasionally have them.
Well, I definitely think there should be more. What I try to not do is to put that pressure on myself, although I do feel it at times. I know there's a lot of eyes on male romance writers, in terms of, especially in terms of the genre and how we write and how we specifically handle female characters. And so I try to take and be very cognizant when I'm writing in that space, and I tend to, my preference, and it's always been my preference, is to have strong female leads. And you'll see in Dr. No, my last book, Dr. Fix It, in the same series, I generally like to write from the female's point of view, just because there's so many challenges in that space, and it's just so interesting.
I'm so glad that you worded it this way because that's a terrific lead in for my next question. So,
I'm looking
um,
over your shoulder, so.
okay, well, there must be. So, tell me about an anthology that you were a part of, called Mrs. Right.
Ah,
Tell me your part in it as a male author.
sure. So the Mrs. Wright anthology, and that, first of all, I love writing in anthologies just because I get to work with so many other authors in the community, and we network, we share, and we talk, and I learn so much from them. The Mrs. Wright anthology is kind of unique because it was a collection of authors bringing back some of their favorite characters from other books. And so, in my case, I brought back the couple from my first small town romance, Ryan's Kiss. And in the collection, all the couples are now gathering. This is post their happily ever after from their independent book, and now they're celebrating their very first Valentine's Day together, as husband and wife. And so it was timed. It was delivered in the February timeframe to coincide with Valentine's Day itself, and it was such a joy to write, to revisit that couple. That meant a lot to me, because it was like one of my first big books out there, and it's book one in my small town romance series, Lake Hope. And so, working with the other authors, they all went through similar experiences of going back and revisiting some of their favorite couples, and then seeing what how they developed, from the time they've had their happily ever after, whether it was an engagement or a wedding, and now they're celebrating that first Valentine's Day together. It was really, really special.
Nice. So, I have a big question. Um,
Sure.
you said that you like to write in the woman's voice. Tell me why that is. What is the draw for you to take on
Sure.
the main character as the woman?
I I've always been drawn to the complexity and the
Mhm.
challenges women face.
Mm.
I grew up in a household. You're going to laugh at this. That I had seven brothers, so it was six brothers. There's eight of us all together, seven boys, one girl. But my mom dominated the house, and it was same throughout my family. My aunts dominate, their households, regardless of the male presence in each house. And so I've always been interested in terms of watching, some of the challenges my mom went through, some of the challenges my sister goes through, my cousins go through, and I'm African American, and some of the special challenges that African American women face, especially in
Mhm.
corporate America,
Oh, yeah.
and just how they navigate it with such style, such grace, and how underneath all that class, the big struggle and all the challenges they face day to day is just something I've always admired, and I try to give sneak peeks of that in my characters because the depth and complexity of the characters I think are very, very interesting. Not saying that the men aren't interesting, but I just
Mhm.
find the way women navigate so many challenges and how they have so many competing challenges in their lives, in terms of, not just for themselves, but for their families and for others. They're always sacrificing. I've always found that compelling.
So would you say that that is probably one of the biggest reasons that you're so successful? Not that you're not a good writer, because you are, but because you shine such a bright light onto women and their struggles, especially African American women and Black women, all not just in our country, but across the globe.
I've learned to discover that that's part of it. It was never my intent in terms of that being part of it. Um,
Right.
I, I've I've always just followed my instincts in my heart, and people have really gravitated towards some of these, thankfully, in terms of the stories I tell and the characters I create. So I feel very honored when that happens. But I still try to just follow my instinct and not think you know this is why I'm doing this and any of the post release stuff. I try
Mhm.
to just build the best story I can at the time I'm writing it.
Right. Well, I think you do a wonderful job. I'll just say that.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So when you get stuck, because I mean, come on, elephant in the room, you are a male. So when you get
Mhm.
stuck, who do you go to get that woman's insight into your books? Who do you turn to first?
First is to my wife,
Hmm.
and it's interesting because she's an avid reader, but she doesn't read romance. Um, she
Sorry.
she loves yeah no I know she she loves nonfiction. She loves historical nonfiction in particular,
Hmm.
but she's an avid reader. And in terms of understanding perspectives and stuff, I bounce things off of her. Just
Hmm.
because she's not a romance reader, so her perspective usually is slightly different. But outside of her, I'll talk to my sister, my cousins, etc. Even coworkers, just to get their perspective in terms of depending on the character. If I think it's something that resonates with them, I'll ask their opinion of it as well.
Nice. So Um, before I have another question, but I'm gonna jump over that one and
Sure.
go to this one. Kiss You Back. It's coming out March 23rd. Tell us a little bit about this book.
So Kiss You Back is it's a 10-year high school reunion novel.
Mhm.
It's very interesting. So one of my favorite subgenres in romance is second chance.
Mhm.
And if you look through my backlist, there's a lot of second chance romances there. And it speaks back to me in terms of, when I was in school, when I was in high school, et cetera, and I was young, I always saw myself as the nerd. And so many times, and I think this is an experience a lot of people can relate to, there are things that happen in your life, moments that pass by, and you go, wow, if I could do it, if I can go back in time, I would have said this or I would have done this. And
Mm.
that's why I love writing second chances, because it gives you a chance to look back retrospectively and try to correct something that you didn't have the opportunity to do right the first time. And
Right.
so in this book, Kiss You Back, it's the ultimate second chance. It's a 10-year high school reunion. And so the two main characters there, um, Elijah and Kennedy, they did not connect in high school. They were good friends, but Elijah was the nerd, and he never had enough belief in himself to actually step toward Kennedy, who was the head cheerleader, and she had this glamorous profile and popularity in high school, and he never had the audacity to actually step to her and tell her how he actually felt. And now it's 10 years later, and he now has an opportunity to do that because now he's become a different person. But plot twist, so has she. So,
Ah, yeah. Well, there you go. You could still be in
yeah,
love with someone, but they might not be the same
yep,
person that you remember. Yes, I can see that.
yep, yep, yep.
So,
So,
uh, go ahead.
no, no, good.
Okay. Now, this Kiss You Back, is this within a series? Tell me, is it within the series or something?
Yep. So it's book one in a brand new series, the
Okay.
Spring Hills 10-year high school reunion series. So,
Nice. I kind of
so
thought that
there's
was where this was going.
yeah, yeah. So, they're not the only ones that needed a second chance. So there's going to be several people and several stories coming through this series. Right now, I'm plotting out through the next 2 years, the rest of the series. But yeah, I'm having so much fun writing it.
Oh, I can imagine. To me, I think that would be very what something would people would want to reach for because like you said, second chances, that is a nice approach to it. So, I want to jump back just for a second.
Sure.
Doctors of Eastport General series. Tell me why you decided to follow doctors in romance. Tell me what the draw was for you.
Sure. So it's medical romances, and so in that series, there's a author, S.L. Sterling. She organized the actual overall series, and so last year there were 13 books in the series. They're all interconnected in the same what they call shared universe. So it was 13 doctors all at the same hospital. That's the Eastport General Hospital, where it all takes place. And so last year I wrote Dr. Fix It in that world, and then Dr. No is the new release in season two. So as of end of next week, once all of the doctors are released for this season, there'll be 26 books overall in that series. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, and in terms of doctors, it's very interesting because they're when you look at doctors, you think of authority. You think they're people that I called it Doctor No on purpose. People that know everything and have their act together, and they're not. They're individuals just like you and I, and
Right.
they have their doubts, they have their struggles, and there's lots for them to learn as well.
Nice. So, since we're still relatively in the new year, I know you've mentioned that you're going to do your second chance series, your Spring Hills
Mhm.
reunions. So tell me what else is coming for you this 2023.
Oh, let's see. There's a lot.
Oh,
So yeah, it's going to be a busy year. So I'm also in another series, Summers in Seaside.
mhm.
So it's a small town in Oregon. So last year those interconnected stories in the same town. Last year I released Summer Sounds in that series, which was a musical based romance. And so I'm revisiting that same town. We're going back this year, and I have a novel coming out, Summer Nights, where we return to Seaside, Oregon, and that's season two. That's coming out in August.
Nice. That is a
Uh,
lot.
yes, I've also. We're going to keep going.
Okay, keep going.
also,
Yeah.
I'm writing in a anthology series, Color Theory. This is Color Theory season three. So it's a series of shorts, novellas. I forget how many authors in it. I think there's over 20 authors in this collection, and they're interracial romances. So that one's coming out also in August. And then also in August is going to be very busy for me. I'm writing in what's called the Vagabond series. It's a travel romance series. This is season two. Last year they released, I think, 10 books in that series, and there's a dozen authors coming back this year. This will be my first time writing in the series, and so I'm writing a travel romance, and mine is going to be set in Singapore,
Oh,
and I'm excited to share that with everyone. So lots to come this year.
nice. It sounds like it. I want to thank you so much, Mel, for coming back to the show. It was a genuine pleasure. You are always a delight to speak with. So thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy I really enjoy being here.
Wonderful. You'll have to come back yet again because you've got lots coming this next year. So we'd love to have you back.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
I'd like to take just a moment to make a personal thank you to all my listeners. And I'm going to try to do this without any tears. Your sympathy, and most importantly, your empathy directed at me since my father's passing has been very much appreciated. I haven't reached a point where I'm openly ready to talk about the last few months' ordeal, but nonetheless, your condolences were heard. So thank you so very much. Until next time, bye bye for now.